Welcome back to She Gets It Pod with a Everything Culture collab series. Talks they don't want to have. We are on episode 9, Lies. We
Oh,
are on
dang.
episode 8.
Oh, I'm about to say we had 9? Hey, excuse
8.
me.
We will be on 9 soon. We want to talk about the inequalities in our education for Black Americans living in the United States.
Mm,
We are almost done with this series, though. I want to say thank you for checking it out. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for sharing the tweets, the videos, the comments on YouTube, Shannon Pods. And you can find Everything Culture also sharing these episodes and talks about this on his Sunday Zooms that you can join. Okay. Pay
let
attention.
them know.
Pay attention. You can also find more Everything Culture on everythingculture.com. You can find more Shan things on shanbypotting.com because I'll be doing a lot. And we have 6 more episodes left. The next episode will be episode 9 that will be dropping on the 18th. Okay, this month is almost done, but we appreciate
Crazy.
following us along. I want you to like, subscribe, share, talk it up, think about it. Talk to the people that are in your homes, in your communities, in your safe workplace about it when appropriate. But this episode right here, I want to talk about the fact that the way that our education is set up, is it truly set up for us to grow and explore all of the opportunities that are given to other ethnicities in the United States?
Mm,
Um, you like the title says, inequalities, meaning something is not adding up, something's not equal. And we're going to discuss what are the things that are not equal when it comes to the education of Black people in the United States, when it comes to like the discrimination with the ethnicity, their economics conditions, as far as like how they live, what food they have, are they able to afford the supplies they need in order to be successful to complete what needs to be done? The language barriers, do they get the you know you need help with this, let's talk to your parents about this, let's see how we could come up with a educational program to help you come up to where you're supposed to be in your grade level. There are a large number of high school age students that are reading on a third grade level in the United States in 2023. A lot of kids who have behavioral issues is directly linked to them not performing academically on their grade level in class. And if they're not getting the proper attention, that says something about the education that they're not getting or not receiving or don't have. And so we're going to talk about the stereotypes that is perpetuated systemically for Black people in the United States. We're going to talk about this disciplinary bias that's set up as a big part of why Black education is not at the forefront, but what you do with Black bodies and how that is linked for them outside of the classroom, in their neighborhoods, and why they don't show up for class. What is happening at home, why they can't show up for class. We're going to talk about all of it, but first, I want Drake to give us a little background on how did we get here so I could talk about the major factors that are not helping as far as Black education. We ready?
mm, mm. Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? So, of course, I'm Drake, be Drake with Everything Culture Podcast. That's an A, not an I. But when we talk about the history, like how far did we want to go back? If we can go back before we came to this country or before we were kidnapped and brought to this country, we had our own education systems, our own languages, our own cultures, rituals, and the way we, once again, educated our children and one another throughout our community. But once we were stripped of that, we were brought to this country or this land, and we were taught that we are subservient, meaning we're not people. We covered this before, and it was to the point that it was brainwashed not only into us but into this society that we were not able to be educated. We were
Right,
only able to work.
right,
And I state all of that to show how far we've came. Okay, where we've come from, from being the highest scholars on earth to being put in this position that we were stripped of to play being placed to worth nothing but an animal
Mhm.
to once again being some of the highest scholars again on this earth. So when we talk about during slavery, when we had to sneak and read, where to be a punishment,
Right.
even where it would, I mean, when I say punishment, a brutal punishment to educate ourselves. I recently was reading a book from some writings from Frederick Douglass,
Mhm.
when they talked about the thought or the systematic process when you live with a slave owner and they may the ones who never had them before, some of the women would want to teach them and just see where it go. And when it used to be a thing that you better not give them a book. When you give them a book, that's where they mess up. And he absolutely agreed. Our
Right.
education is our freedom.
Mhm.
That's something that was absolutely instilled in us. That once again, if you're able to read, you read, you get as much education as you can, and then you come back and you teach to others.
Mhm.
Us. You bring it back to your community. Frederick Douglass talked about once he learned how to read, he started creating groups to teach other black men or enslaved men, and then came up with other freedmen to have groups to teach one another. And that's how it really started right there, us teaching one another. And then when we were able to be freed, um, we develop our own schools and we had our own ways to communicate with one another. Once again, it was a community.
Mhm.
It was very thought to be a play for us to have our once again our own system of education, communicate with parents, neighbors, to have a betterment for one another. But it came to a point that when we had desegregation,
Mhm.
desegregation, I believe, was something that I support. Was I know some people in the community agree, but some may not, because we believe we lost some of that community structure. So fast forward into where we have now. Well, and I don't want to forget, and we're talking. I'm not talking about higher education. We can, but I want to make sure to pull back. Give me one moment. I smell something. I just want to make sure something cooking or not.
Okay.
1 second. All right. Okay. So sorry, we're back. But when it comes down to where I was at a funeral this past weekend, and the person who passed was a close, well, I would say a family member of an auntie of mine that was 95, and she was an educator. And one of the people who was speaking at the funeral spoke about how things are changing our education and how things are so different, and how us not having that community mind relationship has caused a decline, where having an education was top priority. It was worth gold.
Right.
To now, we see in society now that one, people, we still have the struggle to get our education, but people don't think it's worth anything compared to what we had before.
Mhm.
People don't see the freedom in it. So that's a little bit I want to touch on before we get into the full conversation. But I would love to elaborate more in the future.
Yeah. And I think the saddest thing about that is a lot of people can't put one and two together to see if people don't think their education is worth anything anymore. There's a reason why there's kids not wanting to strive for education, not wanting to go to school, robbing and stealing, and they don't even want to get jobs to work to get a paycheck. They want to just go get the thing that's going to get them the money. So it is directly connected to why they act out the way that they do.
But
And
it's all I want to make sure we say it. If when I read that book, it
yeah.
was always that way.
Mm,
What you need an education for? You got everything you need. Just do this and that. Just listen to me.
mm,
Just work. What you need an education for? Don't I provide everything you need? Aren't you happy? What you need to read for? Once again, more we stay lulled into our behavior,
mm-hmm.
more we stay in someone else's control.
Facts. Kind of like this government. I was
Well, you can put that on repeat. What I just said.
yeah, it's this constant hamster wheel of if you go and help yourself, we're not going to help you at all. But if you don't want to help yourself, we'll give you crumbs so you can stay on this constant cycle.
Mhm.
But
Because it benefits me for you to need me.
right,
I need you more than you need me, but I'm gonna make you feel like you need me more than I need you. Hope
and
I'm saying that correctly.
feel less valued in the process, so you don't strive for better. Um, okay, so I did a little bit of research. I'm gonna make what's a lot a little bit, but a child's education being good depends on five major factors of what I think we should focus on. And it would be number one, their access to a quality education. Number two, healthcare quality, because a lot of the care that a child is getting, how they feel, how they think, what problems they are dealing with individually, will reflect on why they can't pay attention or why they can't form their words correctly or why they can't probably write, you know? Number three, the healthy environment, neighborhood, or community that they live in, if they live in one. And number four, the economic stability of their parents, because your parents should be the people who are providing for you. But there's a lot of kids out here who are not raised by their parents. Some kids are raised by
Right.
grandparents, some kids are raised by their uncles, their aunts, or foster
The
parents.
government
Yeah. So we have to really think about
or these streets. Okay.
that too. That's a factor. There's a lot more what is it, houseless people,
Underhouse.
underhoused people. Um Out here, I was just talking to somebody yesterday where they were saying the numbers of people who are without homes in New York is crazy right now. Like you go outside and they're everywhere.
New
Um,
York, LA, San Francisco, Seattle,
right,
what was it, Portland? Is a
right.
high number. Yeah.
And how the kids are really good at not being seen. It's not that they're not there, but they're good at not being seen or blending in, so they don't have to get picked up or told to move or they can't be certain places. Number five, the parental involvement that the kids have with the schools and the teachers. One thing I like now as a mom is I don't have to wait for a call or wait for a paper to tell me what's going on with my kids. There are websites I can log into, see my kids' assignments, their grades, their attendance, the notes that their teachers leave. There's apps like Class Dojo where you can text the teacher directly, hey, this is going to happen today, or hey, Anya or Ari might be, dragging today because they were tired, or I have them on meds, just giving you a heads up, or I'm going to pick them up early today. There are better ways to fast communicate with a teacher than you waiting for that progress report and your child doesn't have the grades that you think they should have and they're not, performing properly. You should stay in conversation with your teachers. And if you can't get in a conversation with your teachers, there's nothing to go up there when you drop them off. Yes.
Hmm. So are we blending number one and number five together?
We can.
I'm just trying. I'm following your lead.
We
I'm following your lead.
we can. Okay, so let me touch on number one. Uh,
Okay, because because I'm ready. I ain't trying to throw you off though, because I'm gonna get
okay,
deep in it. You feel me?
so I say the access of quality education that Black Americans have is a major factor because in each state in the United States, there are rules that you have to follow according to your zip code, according to what school your child can go to. And every school has a scale of performance on what are the test scores, what are the reading levels, what are the math levels, and basically the supplies that this school has with an XYZ budget, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
A lot of it's based on what you call it.
what?
Well, not gerrymandering. Is that the right word? Taxes, redlining. Um, making sure like it's almost segregation to another sense, but segregation with income, with
Right.
socioeconomic status.
Right. So predominantly, if your child lives at this part of Atlanta, for example, they're only allowed to go to these schools. And the way
Correct.
that they tell you if you're allowed to go to those schools are based on your address.
Correct.
Within that zip code, you have to think about, okay, is there a bus line if someone doesn't have a car? Can the majority of people here afford a car? Can they drive? What are the streets? Is a community safe? Is there well lit lights for children to walk to the bus stop? A lot of bus stops here in Atlanta are pitch black by the time children between first grade and fifth grade need to catch on the bus. And then you have the high schoolers getting picked up at 8:30 when it's broad daylight and there's sun out. And I don't understand who thought.
Well, let me help you out with that. So, did you ride the bus coming up? I
Yes.
remember you saying so. You rode the bus coming up,
I walked, I rode the bus, I rode a bike. I
but
had
you rode like the city. You was Philly. Y'all got. Do you have like a school bus system?
in Philly, I never took the school bus. I walked.
Okay, then let's erase that. Then you didn't take the bus when I'm talking about. You didn't take the school
I
bus.
took the,
Okay,
okay, but you can't say
a
that.
school bus is different than a metro bus.
It is very different. In Maryland, I took a school bus.
Okay, so in Maryland, how long did you take the school bus?
Um, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Okay, so you took the school bus. So mindful when we rode the school bus, they would flip the schedule.
Okay.
So, like for instance, half the year we'll be picked up 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that. The other half of the year we be picked up at 8. It's not about the grade. With us, it wasn't about the grade level. It was about the where you live, like on the route.
Mm.
Because for instance, somebody can have it could be a family, it could be an older brother that could be in high school, another brother in elementary. They're going to be picked up at the same time.
See, they didn't do that.
How didn't they do that? Or did they ride just different buses?
They rode different buses and they went to different schools.
See, for what we had, so I know we talk about once again we talk about experience. What we had elementary, middle, and high schoolers on one bus.
Not us.
And but there was several different buses going at the same time, and because it was the amount of schools we had and where I was from.
Right.
So yeah, we had all three could be on the same bus, and usually, the elementary set in the front, the middle set in the middle, and the high school setters in the back.
So now with the girls going to elementary school, that's how their bus is set up. But their whole school is only first grade to fifth.
So but we had for schools, we had the elementary school that was 1 through 5. Then we had kindergarten through 5. Then we had a middle school that was 6 through 8, and then we had a high school 9 through 12. But pulling it all the way back, because we're throwing in economic stability of parents too. They kind of been slid into this conversation. So we just to go touch on one, the access and quality of education. I gotta share experience. I've been to a plethora of schools. Okay, I've been to predominantly white. Been to predominantly black. I've been to multiracial schools where it's like a strong blend of everyone.
Same.
And I can say just from my experience, yeah, but I gotta say from my experience
Yeah.
that it was a certain point when I went to predominantly black schools, I did get a different type of education. I
Mm.
had more, I felt like I had more love and attention and more access to community and culture. As far as I felt like the teachers may have cared about my quality of life and expected, and I had a more better relationship with my parents too. Like
Mhm.
they care more about my behavior and
Yes.
how I treated one another and how I maneuvered
Yeah.
around. It was like a lot more conduct.
Yeah.
They care about my education too, but I had some of I didn't have as many resources I had at the black school compared to I had to the white school. But at the predominantly black school, I did have some teachers that or some resources they didn't really care. They would just felt like they was there just there to get a check.
Mm.
Okay. But at the white school, I mean, had tables were not falling apart, chairs are good, all new books, like educate. It was like, and I had more stability there too. I had more resources. Like once I said before on the show that I had a speech impediment. I used to stutter and I couldn't roll my R's, so I had to attend speech. And I'm a public speaker now. Okay, all those things that I had, that was resolved when I went to the predominantly white school. Okay, but I went back to a predominantly black high school, and we had certain resources, but it was a very much of a different dynamic of how society treated me going to that predominantly black school. Went to
Was
the
it like
predominantly.
you should already be able to do this already? This is what I keep doing that. This is what needs to be done.
No, no, no. Even though I had the education, and it was kind of like how propaganda treats it, that your hood, you go to the black school, you got this, and that. But really, we were educated, we were hardworking, we studied, we were focused, and yeah, it wasn't as bad as people try to make it out to be compared to the brown. And I'm talking about the high schools. For my early education, it was helpful for me going to predominantly white schools. And later education, it was helpful for me going to predominantly black schools in education. I'm just saying. I'm not, and I don't know if we want to talk about the collegiate level, but I'm just talking back from the grade schools 1 through 12. But my access and quality of education was very clear in my town. I'm from East Texas, where I'm from,
Okay.
and the black neighborhoods are not always the predominantly profitable or in the highest income. I was in poverty. I would say from first to eighth grade, and halfway through eighth grade, I went to like a lower middle class, the middle class black neighborhood, and I saw the difference in that too. So
It's so weird. I went to school a lot of places. I went to school in Philly, which I felt the support that you were talking about. I told you a little bit about me, them having a program called the African Village, where it was
I
in
remember you telling me
its
that.
own organization where they can discipline you a different way. They can teach you more about African culture while giving you life skills while you learn. And the way that they taught is like, I'm supposed to teach you this, but let me tell you this also, because you'll learn this when you go to fifth grade, or you'll learn this when you go to seventh grade, or have to do this in adult life. It was like life skills and your standard academics. And then after that, we moved and we were in Baltimore, Maryland. And I felt the shift because now I'm seeing um, more Hispanic kids, but I'm in a lower income area because for a long time my mom was living at a women's shelter before she got her own place. And so we got to see what families did limited, and how teachers were just like very sluggish about your work or your progress.
And let
And
me help y'all out. We grew up in the 90s. We
yeah,
80s babies, but we
yeah,
90s kids. Okay.
right.
So we gotta say, when is this happening?
Yeah,
Snapshot for you.
yeah. And so when we moved to Laurel, Maryland, that's when the school bus was introduced to me for the first time. And those teachers, that's when I got speech because my mom was sending me back and forth to Jamaica. And
Yeah, yeah.
I was writing in that accent because I thought that's how you're supposed to do it. So I went to speech from, I want to say, third grade up to seventh grade. So you were going to speech for a different reason from how I was going to speech. But even now, sometimes when I talk, I might mix up much and many, but it was little things like that that I would mix up. But I've gone to school from there and going to school in Florida, where it's predominantly more white children. It was very much okay. This is your supply list. This is what when you need it by. If you mess up your book, you have to pay us $60. It was never okay if you don't have the resources. This is an option for you. And my mom never made me and my brother feel like we wouldn't be able to get what we need. She just made it happen, you know. Um, my mom was on Section 8 for a very long time when we were in Maryland. She got her first house when we went to Florida. I was in Florida for high school up until 10th grade. I finished high school in Georgia. Georgia was shocked for me because I was getting teased for speaking proper English in the class. The kids were like, "Where you from? Why?"
Proper American English.
Right. Oh, where you from? Why you talk like that? I'm just like, talk like what? Why you talk like you white? And that's where I was introduced to someone telling me I talk like I'm white because I'm pronouncing things how it's supposed to be pronounced. Finna was introduced to me, finna go. And sometimes the teachers talk like that. So it was very much okay, we know, and a lot of the teachers in Georgia would split the kids in class. So they would say the riffraff sit at the back because they don't do no work, they don't complete the assignments, but you're not like them, so you can sit up here with us. So this is the
Right.
assignment, and it's kind of like you have the whole class of everybody, but the teacher is automatically refusing to invite those kids to learn the lessons because they already showing pushback and they're not showing they're trying to get them. And a lot of the classes were like that. And so I saw the differences in how teachers were teaching them. I saw it was rare that I saw parents come up there for that kid that keeps going to the office. That kid that comes in head to toe with the freshest clothes, the newest J's, and no pencil, no paper, no backpack. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when you do the popcorn read and the teacher picks on a student, they can't read or they're stuttering, and it's just like, okay, skip you. And it's
Please skip
like,
him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
like it was very struggleable, and I learned like, yeah, I'm here for X amount of hours to get an education, but if I don't get it, I gotta go home and get it myself. There's no
Yeah.
resources or nobody cares in this school to make sure I'm on point on how I want to be on point. And then you started to gravitate to those kids that you felt, oh, your parent cares about your education too. Okay, cool. We can have a conversation.
But that's usually how I go.
Yeah.
Right. That's I think that's across any ethnicity, but we're talking about black folks right now, y'all. We're talking about black folks right now, black folks right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so access to quality of education. I'll pull it back to that.
Mhm.
One is having the ability to get these things.
Yeah.
And is that at the school? Do you have the books? Do you have? Did you ever? I had to go to a school that we had to share computers. You know, everybody had to, some people had to stick to the side because I came up when you had to learn. We had was a typing
And that
class. You
test, it
know,
was times you had to do a
yeah.
certain word.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you. So I started that like in the fifth grade, fourth grade, I would believe. Once again, how if I break it down, I went to a mix kindergarten and first grade,
Yeah.
a predominantly black second and third grade. No, let me put that back. I went to a mix kindergarten, a black first, second grade, a white third, fourth, fifth, and I'm saying predominantly.
Yeah.
Went to but in fifth grade I went to a black for like a strong community black. So when I stayed with my daddy for like 2 6 weeks, maybe 3 6 weeks, and so I stayed. So then but I came back in the middle of fifth grade to my white elementary. Then in the sixth grade, I went to all predominantly, was six, seven, eight, went to predominantly white, high school, all predominantly black. Then I went to a PWI for high school. And when I was learning typing, okay, computer class, whatever, in the fifth grade, when I transferred to Como, I think Como Preparatory School, and I came in there. I didn't know. I'm just doing the work. I was quiet, you know. Been raised by my grandparents, my mother, living with my dad and my grandmother now, and I never forget this how it made me feel. I never forget this one girl kept looking at me. She probably was flirting. I didn't know better, but she kept like, it was just something about you I don't like about you. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm just chilling. You know, I'm not used to
Yeah.
girls being so aggressive where I'm from. Two, in the computer class.
Mm.
Once again, like for instance, if it's 20 kids in the classroom, only it's 10 computers. So we had to take turn like 30 minutes out of the hour, like who's going to rotate and use the computers.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and I had to deal with this, and I had Rice. That, like, I went to a white school called Rice. All right, let me tell you that. But then I never forget the first. It was the first day.
Yeah.
I want to say the first day I knocked out the first 2 weeks of work.
Mm.
And the teacher even everybody I was like, and I was like, no big deal. Let them. I wasn't even bragging or anything. I just more advanced. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Teacher looked me up and down like, well, Mr. Drake, you're done then. Nothing else to do. I don't have nothing for you. You do what you want to do now.
Yeah.
And I was just like, as a guy, like, why you got that? I felt a little attitude. What's happening with that? And all the kids gonna look me sideways. And I'm like, that was the first time I'm like, man, maybe I don't think I was just smarter than them. I was start saying maybe it was just a different type of environment.
Mhm.
And when I went to go live back with my mother and my grandparents, I was behind. I was just that short of time. I was left behind.
Yeah.
So I just show that it goes back to the access and quality education. So now let's fast forward. I don't have kids myself, but I have little cousins, I have nephews and nieces and things. And I just peep game about the access that they have. Like you were just saying, like they have tablets, schools give them laptops. I
Anya has a
mean,
laptop from school, and she.
I mean, all these things. And I know if they were giving out like computers, like they didn't have laptops, they had computers when I was young, but I didn't get one at the school I went to. But it was just so fascinating how much these like kids have access to their work as well. And I'm hearing they don't even give out homework anymore either. What is that going on?
They
But
get homework, but they don't get challenging homework. Like
it
now,
just
it's known with the teachers that the homework is
see,
you could do it. We're
see,
not.
I'm saying all this right here to lead into my point, talking about the parental involvement.
Yeah.
Man, you got all this leniency and all these resources and access, and your kid, you still ain't on track with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, that's you. Black folks. That's something on the parent. Cause
Yeah.
them kids that you were talking about in that classroom, Shan, that was sitting in the back, they may be those they may be they kids.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
like you at a certain point, you got to break that cycle too.
you do.
That's all I'll say.
Your
You
kids
have to break the
come
cycle.
home. It's a relationship. Your kids come home.
Yes.
You want to ask about their day. You want to ask them about the work that they did. You want to.
Let me tell you, I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you out. Man, my not only my mama,
Mm-hmm.
my grandpa, my grandma, and my uncle, like, what you learned today? Tell me what you learned.
That.
That was the conversation. Man, I talk to my little cousins now. My guy, they get a little attitude. And
That.
I'll be like, okay, I know we don't talk a lot. I don't know. I got hands and I will use them. But like,
Right.
what, like the lack of respect, I'm asking you to teach me. I already know I got my education.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, what did you retain from the day, stupid?
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me stop. Let me stop.
So like I asked Anya, like, what did you do in class today? How's your day? Do you have homework? Yes, go do your homework. 4 o'clock is go do your homework time,
For
right?
real.
And I let them do their homework. While I'm working, I'm helping them with homework. On my short breaks, I'm helping them with homework. And um Anya will say, well, I don't understand why it matters if we do the homework if the teacher's not really checking it like that. What's the point? I said it's practice for you.
Yeah.
So when you're in the classroom and it's a test or you need to do your work that's not homework, you know how to do it. You understand it. I said, trust me, it's for you. The teacher, yeah, they got to see if you complete it or not. That's participation, but it's for you. And the kids that I don't understand and the parents is the ones that went through middle school failing, high school failing. They in their 12th grade and you find out your child's not graduating and now you're concerned on why they can't read. Where was your concern for those grades? What conversation were you having with your child? You saw them in a room, you heard the video games, hours. You
You
didn't
bought the video game.
you didn't think,
What do
let
you
me
mean?
check my facts. I didn't see a report card. And now the kids don't even get the chance to give you the report card. It's digital.
And that's what I be hearing. I mean, I'm telling me and my best friend talking about this. I used to talk. You know how much my friends hated me when I was a kid? Because even though I was the poorest, I was
Yeah.
also the smartest.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we if I can go back and pull my report cards, we go report
Yeah.
card to report card 6 weeks to 6 weeks, G.
Yeah.
Okay. But let me tell you something. They used to hate, even though we were the low income family. My
Mhm.
mama was very, and my mom was the bad kid coming up. Okay, the cycle. I was her like,
Uh,
because when them report cards came out, she calling everybody. What's your child make? What's your? My mama was Facebook before Facebook. Okay, she was the hood one that go put messy on that, go talk about people, but
yeah.
she can brag about her boys being smart. Because I'm pulling an all A honor roll. I didn't start making B's until like I was like halfway in middle, like probably after I came back, I was start making B's like in middle school. Okay, like so, and I only got I think two C's and 169.
Mm.
Okay, know what I'm talking about. Like, so all
Keep
that
your
being
self
said,
trust.
academics was always something for me. But my mother used to call, and my friends are like, "Man, don't tell your mom you got your report card because they failing." Like,
Yes.
if I would have came home with a D, a C, oh my god! If I came, oh my god! Now progress report was that like that test, you know.
You
And
better
I
get
I,
this
I done
up
had
before
some
this X, Y,
I
and
done
Z.
had some C's on progress reports, but that's just the progress
Sure.
report.
You know what's so crazy and contradicting about my mom? Yes, she's Jamaican, born and raised. My mom is not strict. My mom wasn't really pushy on you coming home with straight A's. Her parents was, she skipped grades in Jamaica because of what she knew. Um, but she wasn't pushy about, oh, it has to be this. But I was pushy about knowing the work, doing the extra credit. If I needed a tutor, my mom would get a tutor. My brothers were great at math, but not the best at English. English, history, science, that was my steez. Um, Math, numbers, at a certain point, I'm just like, I don't get it. My brother's going through it. Like, I got this, da da da.
I was good at math
Yeah.
until I remember I got in trouble. Like I got in trouble, but I don't think that it was an idle threat. But I look back on it,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember sitting down on the weekends. The
Mm-hmm.
weekends, not I could have been on second all that, and I was just grinding math those what you call it, the multiplication tables,
Yeah.
and I was just okay breaking it down, and I just put together systems in my head, and I just learned how to just breaking them down. So when I came back, like after a month or two of doing that, I was a genius on it. You
In
know,
a Jamaican household, if you with the wrong auntie or uncle, oh, you want to go outside, you need to do and recite times tables 1 through 12, and then you could go.
so I had some aunties like that in the Black American household. Once
Yeah.
again, we're all connected, but that's the involvement that we
Yeah.
had.
Right.
Like now, I look at my little cousins. We just joking about spelling bees just a second ago, like yesterday, Shan. And I love what you're doing with your daughter, but parents kind of shield their children from that type of testing and just give them everything they want without working for it. And I believe that hurts the child in the long run. And when it hurts the child, it hurts our community, it hurts our society in total. It's bigger than just me and you. It's
They
bigger
get
than
this
just them.
belief that they don't have to try, they don't have to push forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I just want to be mindful that you have access and it's right there. It's right here for you to look at it, right here for you to utilize it, and you can ignore it.
Yes.
You can pay your bills online. You can have the money to pay the bills, and you just don't.
Yes.
You just don't think it's a priority. And it goes back to what we said before. If you knew, like, if we had Frederick Douglass or any other black people that had to fight to get their education, that's what I always was beat like legit beat into me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it wasn't beat into me as far as physically. I would say, let me correct that because my parents and my grandparents like really pushed. You could just know how to read and count. That
Mm-hmm.
was the big thing. That's your basis. Because this world will try to cheat you out of everything you have if you don't have that.
Right. And even when the cashier, I was taught this, even when the cashier give you your money, you count your money, you make sure it's correct.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And they used to have me count, man. They used to have me count their money. You count this change. They used to have me scratch their lottery ticket. I never forget my grandfather
Yeah.
was so proud of me because I found out I counted and he said, Uncle, he threw the lottery ticket away. I said, Grandpa, you won $80. He like, look, and he was like, everybody was cheering and they almost put me on their shoulders and walk around the house, you know.
Because he was gonna throw that out, throw out money.
But and I took the time and counted as a child. I was like second grade. I was number what 6 years old or something like that.
My dad
Um,
and Dusty, okay? And on Sundays, he would pour all his money, his change out, and we would roll them up so he could take them to the bank.
mhm.
That was our thing. You know, we would watch boxing and we would roll up and he would sit at that desk and count his money. And you just hear his thumbs going, 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 going. And I knew from an early age that my dad was about his money, his business, and there was never nothing he didn't have in that house. And so I grew up with this mindset where my mom was pushing, do your work, um, do it on time, do it before time if you can, study, and you should be good and you're going to have a good life. And I come from a parent who believe if you go to college, then your life should be perfect. It should be good because you went to college. And so I think this new generation of kids, they're not getting that push because all of these new avenues of how you can be successful without going to college. And it's really about you just knowing how to do this, getting this certificate, and you could get this job, you could make this money. So it's not that push and that encouragement.
See, but it's called accessibility. I'll say we have new ways of accessibility,
Mhm.
but you still should be learning.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go like you know your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. That was the main thing that you say.
Mhm.
Learn how to know how to count, move, use a checkbook. Okay, reading your contract, having an understanding of it.
Mhm.
Okay, basic knowledge of it. Um, know the clock time, all these different things like we used to know, have to know back in the day. We
Mhm.
still need to know today.
They don't even
But
do
you can
cursive.
but for instance, you can go to school and you can go off, you don't have to go to college, but you
Right.
can go off and just start your own business as a carpenter. But if you don't know how to read contracts or know how to count,
Or
guess
measure
what?
or
You're not
measure.
gonna be yeah, you're not gonna be successful as you could. You people are gonna end up using you. Those people who know how to count, those people who know how to read contracts and write up contracts and things are gonna use you.
Right.
Even with this chat GPT, you have to know and understand.
Yeah.
Like one person I think of all the time, and people go, and people go tease you. That's one big thing. People go tease you.
Mhm.
What's the boy name? The boxer, Floyd Mayweather.
Mhm.
One thing, he may not know how to read, but he know how to count.
Period.
But he got people around him that know how to maneuver those certain aspects to help him in life. Okay. But the thing is, he already know the importance of counting, the importance of the dollar amount when it comes down to the work that you put forth on. But it's a lot of people that doesn't. Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal. We'll talk. Well, you and I talking about him the other day.
Mhm.
Like he blew his first check, millions of dollars,
Mhm.
boom, so fast. But guess what? He had to go and get a higher education to understand and know how to use the resources that's been given to him. He has access to more accessibility now, but he don't know how to management and use it. But it take for him to understand those things.
Yeah. Kid Cudi
And
just got masters today.
congratulations to Kid Cudi. Like it's so many things that you can use this for, where you can say for that piece of paper, but it's also for your well-being and benefit to maneuver within this world as well.
That a lot of jobs, despite what you know, what you could do, they want you to have a degree. It puts you in a room for other opportunities to explore that you want to get into because you don't have these things.
But
Um,
even a certification too, a certification it gets you a lot of places too
oh,
if
for
you get the
sure.
right one and you know how to read it. So just want to put that out there for everyone.
When it comes to parental involvement, it's also in the aspect of good attendance equals more money for the schools. Good behavior, good test scores equals more money for the schools. Ari was out for a week, 5 days. And on that Saturday morning, I was emailed a warning from the sheriff's office about,
Currency.
right, she cannot be out X amount of days, or we'll issue a warrant type stuff.
without a reason.
Okay, without reason, I have to show proof that she was sick. She went to the doctor, but I have cousins who have missed 64 days of school in a school year.
Why? See, CPS bad. Why?
Yes, but just like not going, uh her mom was very much struggleable. When she did go to school, she was probably fighting, suspended, and a lot of schools, depending on where you are in the area in Philly, will go ahead and pass you so they don't have to deal with you. Not because academically you showed up, but pass you so they don't have to deal with you.
We had some 22-year-olds in my senior class. Let me tell you that.
In Florida, there was a limit. If you over 18, you can't be here. You got to go to
Oh
your.
no. We had some grown folks. They had them, and then until they started making them, they had some alternative schools, and you can flip flop and get your credits together, you know.
Yeah,
But no, you can get your GED or you can try to graduate from the school. But all those things, it's like because once again, school is such an impactful thing in society. Now, if you're homeschooling your kids, homeschool them. It's I know the steps for that. My mentee was just in here. He was homeschooled for a bit, you know. Well, his brother was homeschooler for a bit and got his GED. It's processes for it. But I've worked with kids that were allegedly homeschooled. They were getting homeschooled, but they did not know how to maneuver anything in the real world.
yeah.
That's looked at as child abuse to a sense. It's
Because
neglect.
socially, you have to take them out to interact with people. You got to take them on field trips. You got to
I had a 12-year-old that didn't know how to tie his shoes.
12.
12. Once again, now when we so once again, I ain't gonna try to veer too off in that way,
Yeah,
but education in school is important. And I can tell on these applications from Twitter, TikTok, IG, Facebook. I know a lot of them on Facebook, so I don't stress so much, but they wasn't paying attention to school.
no.
They in their 30s and just find out, did you know the president don't have the power like he has? What? And why didn't they teach us this in school? But they did. We sat in the same class together.
30-year-olds, 40-year-olds that don't know the three branches of government. You know what I'm
Mm-mm-mm.
saying? That feel like it's struggleable.
Executive, judicial, legislative.
They feel like there's only, two sides when you go vote.
Oh, I know, but that's just what we have, you know. But
Yeah,
that's the when people get passed on through,
yeah,
you know, and people are tired because you got a lot of parents. Once again, the parental involvement. So a lot of parents get involved in the last minute in the fourth quarter, and their thing is in panic mode, and they could have been bullies. They want to bully the teacher. They want to bully the superintendent.
a lot of them are. I mean, we get to
Yeah.
see it randomly on TikTok and Instagram when a teacher decides to
Oh,
take a call.
I
And
see it in real life. What are you talking about? I've seen things where I'm like, yo, I talked to a family member. They were mad. That's what you mad at the teacher for. I say this in front of them and their child. What you mad at the what? She didn't do what they needed to do.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. The accountability has to be there. You want your child to have better grades and better understanding. You want them to learn how to respect people and have manners. A lot of these kids, it's a respect level of this is an adult. Let me sit down and let them teach. A lot of teachers can't even get past the disrespect to teach.
Can I pull it back? Can I pull it back a little bit, Shane?
Yes.
I know we have. So can we can talk about the? You know kind of we going. I'm gonna start throwing the healthy environment, neighborhood, and the family and community with all this what we're talking
But
about right
that's
here
what's
too.
so crazy. The parental involvement matters a lot. This is under that.
Yes. So when I went to the funeral, the
Yeah.
woman speaking, oh, she was doing a great job. She was spitting, and she threw some slugs out there. You know, the older folks gonna throw some slugs
Yeah.
out to the younger folks. Oh, I know. I'm talking about like I'm talking about. Ooh, they gonna all the pallbearers were my auntie grandchildren. They died, yeah. and was like, "That's the problem. These kids, they dress how they want to do, come in what they want to wear in church." I'm like, "Oh, they don't have any respect for nobody in the community anymore." She talked about when that happened, when desegregation happened, because when it was just us, we was
Mhm.
able to discipline these kids. She talked about my auntie that was now once again 95. And she talked about her experience because my auntie taught her. She said, I couldn't stand it when I was in her class. Because the way she would hold your hand out, I mean, she was talking about slapping hands, popping in the mouth,
I got
and
that.
then she go home and tell your parents about it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just it was you was disciplined in the school and you were disciplined at home. It was
Mhm.
a tag team effort.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't like it, but she made me a better person.
Yeah.
She made sure I was as too. And when something else and outside of the community tried to offend us, she was our champion.
Yeah. Because
Do
you
you
took the
understand?
time to get to know that child's character.
So I'll talk about. I had two Miss Taylors, and when my kindergarten teacher was there. Okay, and if y'all heard me, anytime I talk about my kindergarten teacher, love me some Miss Taylor. Okay, I had another Miss Taylor in high school.
Mhm.
Okay. Now Miss Taylor in elementary was sweet, kind, just awesome, awesome, awesome.
Mhm.
Now, and I never that never wavered for Miss Taylor in kindergarten, but Miss Taylor in high school,
Mhm.
she was a little mean. Like, no, it was middle school. Miss Taylor in middle school, she was actually the computer teacher. She was the typing teacher in middle school. She was different. She was mean. She a lot of my friends like I don't like that OB and all this, all that. Yeah, blah blah blah, and all that. So I went to go live with my auntie. She
Mhm.
ended up going like my auntie know her. She used to go to school with my auntie.
Yeah.
So my auntie was on the north side. My middle school was on the south side. So Miss Taylor lived on the north side. So they taught she said you get rides home from Miss Taylor. And I'm like, I guess I don't like Miss Taylor because blah blah blah. She always be yelling at us, be on this and this. Man, Miss Taylor was what she just cared about us.
Yeah.
She just cared about us. And I used to have to check my friends, like, hey, I need to chill out on her, man. She really better than what y'all trying to put her out to be. Y'all are the ones really messing up.
Mhm.
She really care about us. She really be watching us. Hey, don't be doing this around these folks out here.
Because kids can't see what they're gonna be up against, but that teacher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that was, hey, sister, like I was shooting with my sister just joined live. Sorry, everybody listen to us. But that was one of the biggest impacts that you could see is that community connection. And
Mhm.
now that community connection has been dissolved
Yeah.
to a point where the parents don't respect the educators don't respect the parents, the teacher don't I mean the kids don't respect either one.
Yeah.
So now when a lot of these kids they get to the point of adulthood and they don't want to claim adulthood, but you've been playing in adulthood since you was in middle school.
Right.
And now you really out here and you lost in the sauce.
Right.
And you say, I want to go back to my childhood. No, you just want to go back to being spoiled. You was doing it like, and
Having
I'm
no
not saying this is across,
accountability.
and I'm not saying this is across the board, but it's higher than it should be. I
Yeah.
would definitely say that. I
Yeah.
would definitely say that. It's to the point where I ain't even gonna mention their name, but a certain former community activists, social media celebrities talk
Mhm.
about this. We don't want to have these conversations. That's why Shannon and I are having the conversations right here.
Yeah.
Unless we're doing something stupid, y'all listen to the most ignorant people that's available through
The
media.
ignorant, loudest. It's
I
crazy.
mean, could be wrong,
Loud and
but
wrong.
and that show why these kids got to listen to their parents or their teachers when this person don't respect anybody either. That's their role model
Right.
because we uplift that and we make them our champions. They make them the voice of our community.
Right. And the people in our neighborhoods now and the environment that your child is in, and the community that they live in, what do their homes look like? You know, how many of your kids' friends that they spend the most time around, you know their parents, you've been at their house, or you introduce yourself, or y'all exchange numbers, or y'all in conversation.
Follow what they put on social media.
Yeah, the girls ask me all the time, uh, somebody in my class is having a party on Saturday. Can I go? No, I don't know them. You
But do
know,
you attempt to get to know them though?
and that's where I have to take the time to do that. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
if I don't take the time to do that, I'm not sending my child over somebody's house that I don't know.
But so yeah, and I agree, but you need to take the time and do that. My
Right.
mom was like, I mean, you take the time to do it, help me make friends. You
Right.
know what I mean? Same thing with being married. If my wife like, who's that? When we were younger, like she was like, who's that? Let me come show you to him.
Mhm.
Huh. Do you want to meet them or not?
You
Because
lower
once
your
again,
tone because I don't need her hearing this. Okay.
no, I don't mind her hearing because it's the truth.
I'm talking about iron.
Oh, no, she didn't hear it. Wait, no, I don't play the game, but just like, hey,
Yeah.
you need to make the effort.
Yeah.
Like simple as that, mom. But once again, what you mean, that may be a good resource for you too.
Yes. But
Look, you ain't got nothing to say. You ain't.
I do have stuff to say, but that stuff, that's my stuff. And that's a lot
I
of
feel
time
you.
too.
I
Um,
feel you.
a lot
But
of
you're working
parents
through it.
put their things from their upbringing on their kids today, and it hinders them from
Agreed. That's why I
exploring
didn't have your
their
mama on the
life.
show.
But even understanding like the people in your house, are they dealing with trauma? Are they going to therapy? Our generation is like the first is just like, you know what? I need to fix this. I need to go handle this. I need to go talk to somebody with this. The generation,
Accessibility.
yeah, the generation before us was just like, let me just put it to the back, or let
Because
me
they didn't have the accessibility to do so at all times.
right.
You know what I mean?
So we are. It's kind of like the teachers. They want to make a breakthrough with the kids, but their breakthrough has to come from the parent that they can't even get in the classroom or on a phone call or on an email, or having that conversation or wanting to have that conversation. So they in two fights. They in a fight with the parent, they in a fight with the student. And if we could all get on the same level, we can help the child.
I would say it's definitely three. It could be the parent, the student, and the curriculum. I've had conversations where I've had teachers come on and talk about how what we teach these kids is not in their best interest.
It
You know,
hasn't been for years, for decades.
and that goes back to the difference between going to my predominantly black schools to predominantly white schools. Like some of the predominantly white black schools will teach me, yeah, Columbus sailed the what you call it, the ocean blue, whatever it is.
Mm.
He really didn't do that, but you need to put that on the paper. He did.
Homie got lost. Okay. But that also ties into your parental income, because everybody knows there's public school, there's magnet schools, there's private schools. What
Mm.
can I, as a parent, afford to send my child to?
But that goes back to accessibility again. It
It's
goes back to
already
your because
fine.
and how much sacrifice you want to make for your kids. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Because see but that goes across the board too.
Oh,
That
for
goes completely across the
Because
board.
you'll have
That,
somebody on a video on social media say, if you love your kid and you care about your kids, you should homeschool your kids. I don't care how financially hard it is. Figure out a way and homeschool you. That's privilege to say stop your lifestyle.
I wouldn't want to homeschool my kids either though.
Everybody is not cut out to, just like everybody is not cut out to be a business owner and run a business. Some people don't have the mindset to make sure the people under that business are successful. A lot of parents were confronted with that over the COVID pandemic, where them kids weren't in school. That made the gap bigger for how many kids couldn't read, how many kids were not doing work on the grade level, how many kids didn't know how to write their name, spell their name, their ABCs. It turned into triple work. But if the people around you are not benefiting your children, like I don't have no friends that can physically pull up to my house and sit in my house that are not adding to my children, that I'm worried about what they're going to say in a room that I'm not in and my kids here. My friends that come here, they'll help the kids with the homework while I'm working. Okay?
I got you.
They'll talk to them. they'll correct them. If I'm having a problem with them behavior wise, they are having a different kind of conversation that's not coming through with them with me.
So what you're doing, you're building a community.
Right.
How many houses you can go in and do the same thing?
A few houses.
Few,
A few
but
houses.
not
But that
many.
but this is the other thing. The community, is it close knit? What is your day-to-day like? Can you only go there on the weekends or can you go there throughout the week? I think a lot of how we grew up is our aunt was on the other block or grandma was here. And, if your parents are working, then you could go to such and such house. Now it's not set up like that. Thank God I have a brother that has a business. When I go to the office, he could pick the girls up because it's 4 minutes from his business and they could stay at the office. If that wasn't the case, guess who's coming out of pocket for a sitter 5 days a week every month for 2 kids? So now it's a bit different.
But it's not only the distance, and so we got resource, we got tablets, we got FaceTime now.
Oh, for
You know
sure.
what I mean? We got so many resources we can help teach these kids and be a relationship with them. But it
Right.
really goes in your relationship and what you already said, what you allow in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because and how you guide your children as well.
Yeah.
Because I got some family, and it was before me. I'm not the one that's like this, but you got some kids that, oh, they just gonna be misbehaved. They don't care. I
Mm-hmm.
ain't gonna take my time too much with them,
Mm-hmm.
especially when their parents don't allow them to be redirected.
Right.
Nah, I'm not even gonna engage with. I'm gonna save my breath.
Mm-hmm.
But you got some that like, hey, can you talk to my kid? Absolutely. Want me to take him to get some ice cream? Let me mentor. Let's help.
You thought it was all good getting ice cream. Now I'm about to talk.
Yeah, yeah, straight up. But then you got the kids that want to talk.
Yeah.
They want to absorb. They want to sit in the front of the class.
Yeah. That was me.
And it's not always that the teachers, like for instance, I never put any like my cousins or family members stuff back. I let them make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
My door is always open.
Yeah.
But I've been through my life where I I spill over and I share and I try to pour into someone else's cup and they don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I gonna waste this energy, this knowledge, this care when I have someone that's over here like more, please? You know
Right.
what I mean?
Showing up and being consistent.
So yes, I'm gonna try to feed into the one. And some people may feel like, well, why didn't you? I did.
Right.
But what you wanted me to put you in a chokehold and force it down your throat. I'm not gonna put all that energy into it.
Right.
But it's here.
Right.
It is here. Now, if you find somebody else that want to do that and have that lash out and all that, y'all got it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that type of person. But but if you come to me, you want to learn this, if you want to like podcasting, if you want to learn, baby, my pleasure. My uncle asked about podcasting. He in his mid-70s. I already got him a microphone. I got him all this, and I'm gonna come over there and like, hey, I'm gonna call him down, like, hey, let's set up a date.
Right.
And I'm gonna show him all this stuff, and and all this stuff is yours too.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I set people, and that's elder. That's
Right.
how we treat each other. That's how we should support one another.
It's a
You know,
constant learning and wanting to learn.
and
Uh,
it's community. It's accessibility. I have the resources to purchase these items and give these items away.
right.
I have the someone, and I want to be involved with them. Once again, we're talking. I'm not a parent. This is me just being a community member or a family member. But it comes down to like the respect, communication, and consistency. Again, our pillars.
Right.
We show each other respect. We communicate what we need with one another and how we can get here together, and we be consistent in how we treat this and how we follow through with one another for
And
this.
also knowing, yeah, y'all related, this is your family, but the way that they raise their children in their household might not be conducive for mine. So yeah, it's probably a house where, well, they are home. Yeah, they are home, but they not the home established that you need to be in. You know what I'm saying? Because
It's a different culture in that household.
yes, their door is always open a little bit too much. Our door, you gotta announce yourself. You know what I'm saying? I have households that I'm related to where their door is open and anybody walk through there. I don't want to know that anybody could
I
walk.
never forget. I had a cousin. She walked through my back door one time without saying nothing. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like I was like, we was having a house party, and like we was like, you throw a house party. She showed up early. And she just walked in the house without ringing the doorbell. And, hey, couldn't folk, hey y'all, baby. I was if I was in the bedroom, all I'm saying, like we was like,
And
but
family could do that to my family's homes.
that's what I'm saying. In certain places, you can do that.
House,
But
none of these doors you could come through. That's a
we was
problem.
in Third Ward, Houston at that time. Well, no, I was in Third Ward. I was off West Orem at the time, still adjacent to the hood.
Yeah.
Nah, hey. So it's wild.
Okay, so next point I want to go over since Drake done made 1 and 5. One. Let's talk about this healthcare. Um, yes, I want to talk about the healthcare. Um,
Talk about it.
the quality of health for Black Americans. An equal education outcomes start with how does your child feel? How do they think? Are they comfortable? Are they getting what they need at home before they come into a classroom? And just knowing like this is not a Montessori school. There's not 8 students in here, there's 24. And all kids don't learn at the same level, don't learn the same way. And I think a lot of children were put in certain classes a lot of times as Black children because they were dismissed or that teacher didn't know how this child learned or took the time to figure out how this child learned to go ahead and access them. And so a lot of times kids go to school and they have not the best grades or they're just not getting it. And you find out in the ninth grade that you was dyslexic the whole time. You know what I'm saying? You find out that the way that you calculate numbers in your mind is actually on a gifted level. And for one of my brothers, the youngest one, it wasn't that he was lazy in class. He wasn't challenged, so he didn't care. He went into the class, he did what you did in computer class, finished the work, and he goofed off. And so what got looked at more was his behavior over his schoolwork. You know what I'm saying? And so if you have a teacher that has a bias to Black children in the classroom and they only see their behavior and not how they learn and the level that they learn at and what work can I give you to challenge you to make you want to focus, then it's going to be like, oh no, your child is misbehaving, X, Y, and Z. Speech. How many kids are in the classroom that need to go to speech that aren't in speech?
That it.
How
But
many parents care that their child need to be in speech?
and I want to be mindful that my kid is not being challenged that way, they act this way. It doesn't apply to everybody's child.
Right, it doesn't. Not the eyes. It
I
doesn't.
just want to. I've heard that before, and I'm like, no, 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 no,
Yeah, but
not
you
that.
know, some kids might have sleep disorders. Some kids might have poor vision, and
And
because they,
we talking about health, hunger. That made
that's
me
part of
hungry.
it too.
That goes back into that too. The kids may be dealing with bullying. They may not be wearing clothes. They may be. It's so many aspects that go into it. So many. And if we talk about just poverty and hunger, you cannot focus when you're hungry. Shan, you've seen me even as an adult when
Oh
I'm
no,
hungry.
Jake,
Like,
Jake doesn't stop the pod because he need to eat.
like, yeah, yeah. I ain't trying to hear all this. Like, hey, wrap it up. Gotta eat, baby. But
Hey,
that's real. Have you been hungry in the classroom
what facts?
as a
Have you
kid?
been sleepy in a class and talking about?
Oh man, yeah. And not like what if it's domestic violence in that house?
Well, yeah,
There's so many aspects, and it goes back into the what's going on in the household matter in
yeah.
the community. I've seen fire alarms and things. You go outside, somebody just got unalive. You
Mhm.
have to put your attention on that, and you're supposed to come back in this classroom, act like everything's normal too.
Facts.
These are things where we have to be mindful of what these children are experiencing in our communities, and not every community, but a lot that happens. So we have to be empathetic to that.
Yeah. There's autism. There's unaddressed hearing problems. Um, Developmental delays from someone's drinking or drug use that you don't know about because that parent doesn't communicate.
I've been seeing a lot of parents talking about smoking the devil's lettuce while pregnant.
I saw that on Twitter.
Let me tell you something. I'm When I first moved to Seattle, cool. I was at an event. I volunteered. Y'all know me. I volunteer a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Cool black woman. I think she was biracial. She was,
Mm.
and she was talking. And out the blue, she was like, "Yeah, I'm an advocate for moms on marijuana." I said, like, after no during pregnancy, it's no problem. I'm like, I can get into, I've done my research. She's done her research. I don't know what research she's looked into to say any
Yeah.
type of like that's beneficial for the child. It's
Yeah.
beneficial, and that goes back into what's beneficial for you. Yeah, it's going to soothe your pain, but it's going to mess up your child in the future. And even with men, I try to tell men that if you are trying to have a child, do you know if you're inebriated on any substance and you ejaculate,
Talk about it.
that affects the child too.
Talk about it.
That plays a part.
A lot of
Okay.
diseases that your child has is linked to the father drinking, the father smoking cigarettes. It's a lot of things, and they think, oh, it's the mom not taking care of herself. No, it's you're a part of this too. It's a human.
It goes hand in hand. So if he's doing that while he's in the act, because and it has with the man, his health matters, but a lot of that is on the day of too,
Yeah.
because we reproduce just like y'all have every month, we
Yeah.
have every day. Once again, I go into the science of it, and it's once again, y'all can Google all this; it's available.
Yeah.
But if you're out and about, y'all know y'all out partying for birthday or New Year's and y'all drinking, y'all, doing everything else. And that is the time when split splash, skeet, 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 skeet happen.
Yeah.
That is what you putting into that. Now, even if the woman, she's clear, but that started it off right there.
Yeah.
But if the man wasn't doing that and the woman, y'all have the longer term, yeah, that affects. Well, I never forget a mother was this is me. I'm CPS. I was a CPS at the time. I was child advocates, but
Mm.
go out and do a visit. I never forget, she had a bottle. I cannot put that on camera. She had like a bottle of prenatal pills and a pack of cigarettes right next to each other. And I was like, Lord, let's take a picture of this.
Oh my god.
Right. And she was dead. And we asked, like, you get pregnant, you smoking. Well, ain't nothing wrong with my other kids, and I smoked during theirs. Yes, they are. There are plenty of issues with your other children, man. Like, you just don't want to own up to it. Like, you have a child with a cleft lip. You have a child. All these things go into, but I've once again, in me, I've taken child development. I've graduated in psychology. I've taken child development high school, junior high. I mean, high school, junior college, and college. I work for CPS. I've had continued education on these things, and
Yeah.
I'm not a woman, but I allow women to teach each other about these things.
Yeah.
But that's why I educate men. But if I'm with a woman, you're doing it. No, you can't. No,
And I've done
absolutely
an
not,
episode on Cozy Room podcast about men's health and how that affects children.
man. But all these things going into it, it's it, it's it cause it starts there.
Yeah.
And I'd be so upset when these kids be messed up later in life, and they be like, "Oh my God, I don't know what's wrong with them." I remember what you was doing. You know how many times they said with some, even with my mama. Okay, a lot
And
of parents I always say, "Well, she wasn't using when she was with you." What? So like what? Hey, family members, y'all gotta chill out. Y'all be saying some wild stuff at times. Okay, y'all be wild.
that's crazy. But to end this health part, Black Americans in America still deal with a long history of health disparities, even when a mother is in labor. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. We're the state in the United States with the highest death rates of Black women dying through childbirth and through their trimesters. Why? Because that idea that we should be able to endure pain or what we are saying is not happening to us is still a thing. We still have to have advocates in that labor room, saying what we need, writing down what needs to be done, backing us when we, not feeling our best. And so you got to pay attention to that with your kids too. You can't just send them to school and put it all on the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just think that they're going to get everything they need out of that classroom. It's not going to happen. I'm tired. I'm exhausted every day. You know what I'm saying? I'm always making sure the girls do their work. I'm always making sure they have project money, making sure they have what they need for their field trip, making sure their supplies is up to date. If they don't have this, I'm calling their dad and saying, hey, they need X, Y, and Z. It's a constant thing. And if I can't do it, I could call my brother. If they can't do it, I could call a friend of mine. Like, it's a community thing. I didn't raise my two daughters by myself.
Say that.
Okay. There are a lot of people involved on what they have, when they have it, how they get from point A to point B. And so you can't keep having children and thinking you're going to be able to do it all, because you're not supposed to do it all.
And that goes for 2-parent homes too.
Yeah.
Be clear about that. Because
Yeah.
I grew up in a single. I grew up consistently throughout. I grew up with my grandparents, and I grew up with my mom, a little bit with my dad, then my auntie. But all throughout, it took a community to raise me,
Right.
effectively raise me.
Right.
I know cats. Look, I sound old now. I was born in the 80s. I know guys that was raised by both their mother and their father, and they don't know how to do a quarter of what my mother or my auntie taught me. Because guess what? Even though I was raised by women, they involved me around men that they trusted within the community to get things done. I didn't learn how to change oil from of my father. I learned that from my mother making me go out and watch somebody else do it. I didn't learn how to plunge. My mother taught me how to change tires, plungers, like plunge toilets and sinks, all of that. And guess what? This is before the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes back, it takes a community to teach each other this.
Yeah.
I'm into a lot of young. That's why I put on. I'm not a daddy, but I done fathered many of these fellas and young ladies out here.
Right.
But when we got that image that we don't need anybody, I think that's the way when we start to lose.
Right. Put your pride in the wrong place.
Mm.
I had to learn that with my first one. So when the second one came, I was just like, help, SOS. And it helps your kids too. Your kids are gonna learn to ask for help by seeing you ask for help.
Mm.
I think a lot of us in the Black community have our pride in the wrong space. And when you're raising kids, you don't get a second chance for them to be in the third grade. You don't get a third chance for them to be correct. If
I
they
was about to say, I know some people that's been,
you don't get a second chance for them to be 8 again. They might
there
be
you
in
go.
the third
You
grade
can't
and
be
another
8 in the 3rd grade, but once, but you can't be 9 in the
right.
3rd grade. I'll tell you that.
Gotta
Okay, I've
pay
seen it.
attention and take advantage of those milestones.
Yeah.
Yes, the technology is in the house, but they don't always have to be on the technology. It's your job to create a boundary. It's your job to create a bedtime. It's your job
Mm.
to make sure they have books in the house, dictionaries in the
Man,
house.
shout out to my partner Dunny. But previous guest Dunny, I talked to him over Thanksgiving. They
Mm,
tried to put a diagnosis on his son. He like, I'd be damned.
mm-hmm.
He stepped up his priority. He prioritized his child
Yeah,
over other things to make sure his child, what he needed books, if he needed tutoring, any extra classes, he made it happen.
yeah,
He didn't make no excuses to make results. He just didn't sit there and let them okay.
right.
No, he said, nah, not my child.
Yeah, they will move your kids where they want to move them. And depending on at what age they move your child
If
might be
you allow him.
right. Your child might be stuck in a position all the way up until they are out of school and you can't do nothing about it. Right. And there are
So
certain jobs that kids that turn into young adults can only get because of the education that they have. The pay that they will get will be not equal to the pay among their peers because they don't know what they need to know to say I deserve more, to
and
ask
let's
more.
And let's pull it all the way back. They would do it because that's how they were meant to hold us.
Yeah.
It was a point, I said before, that we were not able to read or understand. It was a point they did not, once again, they did not believe we can feel pain, or we had a higher pain tolerance. They did not feel, and when I say they, I'm talking about the system of America. I don't want y'all getting confused when I'm talking about here, by the way. I want you to know that's been the system of this country that was created for us to be subservient. It was created for us not to even have emotions. So when we were able to read, and it was in the book, even with Frederick Dozier wrote when he found when other white slave owners and white people found out that black people was writing poetry, they're like, "What? There's no way these feelings and these thoughts are coming out from a black person's thoughts."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So now when we're still steadily able to achieve higher and higher, and once again, we have to be mindful. We're not perfect either.
No, we still got learning to do.
We are like humans at the end of the day.
Right.
We're going to make mistakes.
Right.
And it's hard because we talked about in the previous episode, one of the previous episodes being twice as hard
Mm-hmm.
because of the disparity that's been put against us. We
Right.
have to work that it comes all full circle back around to this.
And we still do it now where for the longest time they didn't believe that we were able to work and pay a mortgage or pay rent. They
But
didn't want
that's
to
my
give it to us,
point.
right? So now, even when we want to sell our house or get it appraised, we got to remove our essence out the home to get it appraised to where it needs to be. We're
Because
still
it's a
working
system.
at those.
At the end of the day, it's systemic.
Yeah.
It's when you understand when people say, "Well, I'm not racist, I'm not that." You have no choice because it's the system that you are participating in.
Right.
Am I making sense?
Right.
That is like me being the man. Like if I was, I'd be, but I'm a black man. I tell people there's a difference. But do I get certain perks of being a man in previous? Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say be mindful of that.
Yeah.
But things are changing. But I know, but if I could choose to be a part of the system,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't hold other men accountable,
Right.
or I still play around. I know that, but it's so detailed how you can use your privileges to make that change necessary.
If you want.
Recognize your privileges, even if you like them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Utilize them and move them in a way of people need to make progress.
Right.
But that's just me.
And that's it. Better education, better pizza. Sounds just so good. But thank you
Papa
again.
John's.
Yes, for listening to another episode of She Gets a Pod. We were talking about education. Your education is very important, even if you don't go to college or you're in high school or you're in middle school. It's your time, and please research what's new coming up. I think a Black woman just created a toy to teach children coding. I'm gonna see about getting that for the girls because that's
Hmm.
something that's going to be a part of their everyday lifestyle by the time they graduate and they want to look for jobs. You constantly have to be on top of what's being taught to kids probably not in your income bracket, and how can you start with yours. All right. Thank you for listening to She Gets a Pod. You can check out everything culture.
Oh, thank you for listening to She Gets a Pod and Everything Culture.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, we get
yeah.
it together.
You can check out Everything Culture on everythingculture.com, Everything Culture on your favorite podcast app. And if you would like to donate to either podcast, you can. We appreciate it. And please like and share the show. We will be back next week with another one. Okay. As you
Appreciate y'all.
can. Shout out to the Reading Rainbow. I think that's a problem. They don't have the Reading Rainbow anymore like they did.
They got a whole bunch of stuff. Like, are when you stop here record, I'll start talking because I know how you won't post any. You